always meet people, they get their flare up, their first one, and they stop completely forever because they're scared of their back. And if they go to the wrong person and get told you need to be careful or you're getting too old to be doing stuff, you should stop exercising, and then, you meet them 10 or 20, 30 years later and they haven't done anything for all that time period, and they have skipped out on holidays, time with their family, playing with their kids. All this stuff happens just because they're wrong information at the wrong times. It's so important to remember to move whenever you're in pain, to get things moving best you can. You will get better at doing that. You want to know your 4 elements of core strength. You have isometric, rotational, anti-rotational, and your reactive core strength. And then long-term progress. So getting stronger. So when you do feel good, really capitalize on that and really be making yourself as strong as possible so that you hopefully just don't get a flare up.
It's time to stretch and stretch.
Welcome to You Can Fix You, giving you mobility tips to build movement freedom and train with confidence. Episode 10. The best lower back advice. Oh, this better be good.
No pressure, Tom. No pressure.
So not last weekend, but the weekend before, we finished our seminars. We did a lower back and core seminar. So I think this is good while it's fresh in our head. So we're going to go through 3 things. The things you can do during back pain. Core, firing the muscles and making them remember to do their job, and then our long-term progress. So what would you say, JP, is something that's important to remember if you do have a back pain flare-up?
This too shall pass. Yes. While in the moment it probably feels like my life is over.
Yes.
It's probably not.
No.
Like you've had this before. It just feels that overwhelming rush of emotions of, oh my goodness, I'll be paralyzed for the rest of my life. Like even getting out of bed sore. I have to brace for everything. Like don't sneeze, don't breathe deeply. But actually, if you've had back pain over a long period of time, it's happened before. It'll happen again. And so try to take the fear element out of it and go into the very practical, okay, what can I do?
Breathe. Chill. Yeah, it's so hard to not feel like, there's nothing I hate more than feeling weak. And that's what back pain does, especially to you. Like you can't lift or move the way you normally can, and it's just so frustrating. So it's so important to get yourself moving gently and test your ranges of motion. So if you can normally touch your toes really well, but you just find even bending at all hurts, then you start to actually have a wiggle in positions that's going to help you to get there. And one of the things that I really liked that we taught in the seminar was the clockwork hips drill. That is where you just go one leg at a time. You just rock back and forth. You don't go push things towards painful, but you just try and get some movement first of all and try and expand where you can get to before things start to hurt. When you can start to make a bit of progress on that, you'll find that starts to improve even more. And the great thing about that is if you've had recurrent flare-ups for a long time, you get better at that. That becomes a skill that you can develop. So you're able to actually move yourself out of pain quicker. So the first time you ever do it, it could take you say just an hour, for example, of just rocking back and forward, not really feeling like you're doing much. But then you're like, oh, I've made a bit of an improvement here. But once you've got that in your mind, you're then the next time you do that, it might only take you 45 minutes. Time after that might only take you half an hour. And then now, I'm at a point where if I ever get a twinge or a flare up at all, I can 5 minutes, I'm able to get rid of it completely. I'm able to calm my nervous system down because I know it will pass. I know it will go away. Still get the same thoughts and feelings. They creep straight in. Your brain's trying to protect you. But I know if I move through it and breathe well, which I've just practiced for years now, I can get rid of it straight away, which is really helpful and empowering as well.
Totally. Because you're training we've all heard and seen about how to train your body, but training your mind is a skill in itself. And you got to link the two together and associate movement as not being dangerous, but movement as being your way around the issue. The biggest help for me was the research I was doing with people that have disc injuries, still have them, they show on MRI and that they're pain free. And I was like, so I have that and I've been pain free. So I'm you've got the chart that says, look.
So it's I know it's still there. It's always there. It's not going away. It's just sometimes your body has a wee bit of a freak out and it just wants to make a scene and that's okay. But as I know, if I move through it, it'll be fine. I'm not going to cause more damage. I'm not going to ruin anything or exacerbate anything. If anything, sitting still for too long is going to make it feel worse because things are just going to feel compressed. The muscles are going to feel off. And whenever I try and stand up, then I'm going to feel like my spine's being sucked up my butt. That's exactly what it feels like. It's horrible. So I know that moving's going to make it feel better. And because I have that confidence as well, it makes it work faster as well. So it's just about shutting your brain off to all these things that it's trying to tell you. And so that you're able to go, no, you're being silly. I'm fine. So you're able to dissociate yourself from your own brain, essentially, which is hard to do. It's easy to say, very hard to do.
And the other part of it as well is your brain isn't very, I mean, it's very smart, but it's also pretty dumb at the same time, because it thinks you're still that mega stud. So you see, it's like, oh, look at all those like lunges and exercises that, you know, they're really going to help. But then you go to do them, you're like, I can't do that. Oh, I'm a failure. Like, no, let's reverse it. Like, find the easier version of that same movement. So I had a flare up not that long ago, and I found lying on my back in bed, and from there I was able to do a bit of internal external rotation at my hips, but doing it sitting down was like agony. So that was which is very humbling, because I'm a pretty strong boy, like beefcake. And that would be almost embarrassing to think about in my normal day-to-day life. Yeah. But in that circumstance, it's like, let go of your ego. It's like, this is what you need right now. And then, the next day I was like, oh, I've got a bit more movement. I'll maybe sit up a little bit more, and then I'll start on the floor. And like, you just find ways to progressively get back to where you were. Yeah. Just regaining movements again. So, and it's a great thing. It's why SMM, essentially, why we teach it, why it's so important, is so that you have movements you know you can track. So I know that, you know, my deep lunge isn't the same as it normally is. My couch stretch is tighter than it normally is. Yep. I have movements that I'm able to actively improve and work on. Yeah. And the thing for me, how I used SMM, like before it was created, like for me, I always noticed that my left hip flexor and my left adductor really, really tightened up. Sure. And my right external rotation really reduced if I had a flare up. Yep. And also, if I tried to hold a side plank while I was on my right side and lift my left leg, it was like being stabbed with a screwdriver in the spine. So when I reduced the ranges, so did like the most beginner version of side planks and worked on that and built that strength on and fired my core, I was able to get rid of my pain completely. So I went from like not being able to stand on my left leg at all, like squealing, like actually going, not able to breathe in pain, to like 30 minutes later, I would have been like taking some bottles down to the bottle bank or something like that there just to get like some farmer carries in, essentially. To switch everything on more. So going from like that extreme level of pain, like a 10 or like an 11 out of 10, like I should be in hospital pain, to I feel all right for the rest of the day, you know, just through movement. So that was through working on the core. So it's important to get yourself moving and get the joints moving again. But then you want to make things, you want to make your middle feel strong. You want tension through the middle so everything feels like it's working. Yeah. The core one's so huge. Like, it's probably been a month since my flare up, and so yesterday I was doing single arm farmer's carry, and it still feels a little bit weaker on one side than the other, but I can do it without pain. I just feel pressure, but it's like, it's just not as switched on one side. And so it's that move your joint and then engage, so that you're able to, the single arm single leg press is a perfect example of that. You're able to link lower body and upper body together through your core. It's the linchpin that holds everything kind of in place and allows you that rotation, flexion, extension, twisting, all that. And it's such an important thing, because I find a lot of people get stuck in rehab mode forever and try to be careful for far too long. And when you're trying to do that, you're basically saying, I'm weak. I shouldn't be doing this. So you need to get back to training. You need to get back to lifting and training the way you normally do, as fast as you can, essentially. Otherwise, because if you're just trying to be careful all the time, that's in your head. It's going to make you feel even weaker. It's going to give you less energy, all this kind of stuff. So it's so important to get back to switching things on and, you know, training. Maybe not go for a 1 rep max deadlift, but at least get back to lifting and stuff, which leads us nicely into your long-term progress. So it is much easier to rehab someone that already knows how to lift, already knows how to engage their hamstrings, already knows how to brace, than it is with someone that has a back injury that doesn't know how to do any of that stuff. So that's why it's so important to learn it in case you ever have that whoopsie. So you don't, like, it's so much harder. It's not impossible, but when you're having to try and teach someone how to move through pain when they don't know how to do those things, you're then also having to teach them how to lift and how to feel muscles at the same time. 100%. So you're trying to do two things at once, rather than just, you know, someone that does train regularly and has good body awareness. You just need to give them a couple of things and they'll be able to get through it quite quickly because they understand their body better. So it's so important that you learn how to lift properly. It's something you only ever have to do once. And once you've done that, it just serves you for the rest of your life. Just like riding a bike. It's that if you fall off, you break your teeth. Whoa. Looks like someone needs their stabilizers. Like, it was such a gift when I was coming back, because I was like, I can do squatting patterns. So external rotation is largely fine. But whenever I went into the internal, things started to get a little bit spicy. So things like hinging were tricky. But the nice thing about having a bit of a flare up is actually you're hyper aware of all the muscles. So it's actually a perfect time, once you have a little bit of competency, to improve it. Because you're like, oh, little micro adjustments really feel the hamstrings. I think I've made more progress in feeling and engaging my hamstrings and lats in the past month than I have in the past 3 years. And it's like I have constant DOMs, which is so satisfying, but so frustrating that I don't know, just do that earlier.
It's that thing, you know, everyone says everything's connected, but see, until you've actually experienced like a really bad injury, you don't realize how much. Like I used to, when I was trying to eat at a kitchen table, I had to lean to my right side. And if I like tried to reach my right arm away, it like hurt my left lower back and was like, oh my, how, like it really is connected. It's like, well, yeah, everyone says that, but no, it really is connected.
You've no other idea, man.
Yeah. You weren't there, man.
Everything's connected, bro.
Yeah. So it's like, right, so long-term progress. So you want to get stronger.
Yep.
It's so much easier to manage back pain when you're stronger and you know your body better. The bigger ship takes longer to sink. Don't be a flimsy boat. I came up with that the other night. I don't know where that came from, but I kind of like that. So yeah, you want to basically build your own natural armor, you know, and that comes from your lifting, building more muscle and getting more strength. And it's just such an important thing to do so that you don't feel you know, so weak when you get hurt, because you're going to feel weak whenever your back hurts. Totally. If you at least have some level of strength there that you know you can get back to, if you know what you can gauge, what you can normally do, it's so helpful. So the best things that you can start to progress is to learn how to deadlift. You don't have to, you know, win a medal, but you need to know how to engage your hamstrings and brace properly and lift things, load your hips. You need to know how to load your hips. Lunges, they are super movements. You should do forwards lunges, backwards lunges, step ups, multi lunges, dragon lunges, whatever you want to call them, curtsy lunges, sidey lunges, Cossack squats, all of that stuff to give your hips more variance so they're strong from all angles. And then what would your favorite, another two super movements to make you super strong? He's going to say squat.
I do love a squat. Like it's so useful for opening everything up. But I've really been working on upper body connected to the core, because so much compensation comes from my back when I go overhead or something. So that's, to me, any of those kind of single arm presses, bottoms up kettle press is so good. Not that you're going to load it as much as like a deadlift or something, but it's such a nice way of building that sort of extra.
Well, it's like an auto corrector. I like those as well. So deadlift's just like your raw maximal strength, everything in the best possible position to lift. But I like core activation stuff that gives you a bit of a wobble as well that you have to fight against. So that's what the bottoms up and the single arm, single leg press drill is just so good for. So your body's having to correct as well. You know, it's trying to be taken out of position, which is why the anti-rotational core stuff is so good as well, and the reactional core strength stuff.
And it might sound dumb, but I'm a big advocate for having a good cardio base, because one of the measures of fitness is how fast can you recover. And if you're out of breath doing stuff, that's just an extra level of stress. Like, not once did I struggle with my fitness. It was just, there were some movements that I was struggling with, and once I got them back, I was back to normal. I didn't have to then. You always talk about the heaviest thing you lift. You don't want it to be yourself. You want it to be much more than that. So you want to have that optimal surplus, so that even whenever one element's reduced, everything else is still fine. It's still like above board. You're not like just getting back to barely scraping by. You're getting back to everything's sweet. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, track your progress, track your training, make yourself stronger. Always be working towards something. And but don't become
something.
The results.
Yeah.
Like, track it, but you're not the sum of the results.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a data point. Let it go. You're not your ego. Like,
yeah. And that's, you know, if you're in a big long training cycle or whatever, you'll have your little peaks and stuff like that. So don't be ever thinking you're not as strong as you were because you can't lift your max. Oh, I can't lift as heavy as I could when I was 25 and training 6 days a week. Well, now I'm 36 and I'm only training 3 days a week. It's like, oh no, I can't lift as heavy. It's like something's changed, but I've still other things that I'm working towards getting close to where I was before here and there. And so you're always working on at least something. So your body's always feeling like it's adapting.
Yep. Sweet. So do we want to look at Kathy then?
We should look at Kathy for the win. So time for an update. Whoa. Just to recap, I have been trying all kinds of programs to help my back and hips. I have also gone to chiro, PT and massage. I have disc generation in my L4, L5. Lower back always hurt and have had it spasm when it has rendered me helpless. Or where it has rendered me helpless. I find this amusing man on YouTube. And this amusing man.
Wow, that's a new one.
Is that me? And decide to make the decision to follow him. Stalked him for a while and then decided 8 weeks ago to buy SMM.
So 8 weeks is the starting block.
Yeah, 8 weeks is the starting block. So 8 weeks is your main big retester. So I have been consistent but facilitate from reps to regressions to kind of find my sweet spot, which is awesome, which is what we want everyone to learn. Find out where your own pace is with SMM, essentially. My back is still sore, but not like it used to be. Here's the big deal. I went hiking in the Sedona, Arizona, which involves hiking upwards. My husband and I like to hike, but something always winds up hurting my back, like my back, my butt, my legs, etc. No pain at all.
Wow.
Tom Morrison, you must be some kind of sorcerer. I'm forever grateful to you, and thank you and Jenny for helping so many of us. Obvious, we'll continue the program and look forward to more gains.
That's
with
crazy.
4 hearts.
Four hearts. But yeah, like long-term back pain, constant issues, 8 weeks later.
Yeah, feeling so much better.
With just some consistent work, linking the core with some good joint function.
Yeah, and it gets better too. Awesome. Like I remember those stages that I was like, I think I fixed this. And then it was like, it was still every now and again, like, something still feels a bit funky. And then a year after that, I was like, no, I think I fixed this. Yeah. And then it's just still like, the odd thing still catches me now and again. And another year later, it's like, no, I'm really happy with this now. And then now, it's probably like 7 years now since I injured my back. I'm just so much more confident with it. Like, and it just never gives me problems anymore. So
that's the big thing is like, it was talking about you're never fixed. It's that your mindset is almost fixed. It's like your confidence is fixed because like I've been training over 10 years, still get flare-ups, but I have the knowledge, I have the experience to go, we're going to be fine. Yeah.
That's the scariest thing for me is because I always meet people that it's like they get their flare-up, their first one, and they stop completely forever. They just don't do anything anymore because they're scared of their back. And if they go to the wrong person and get told you need to be careful or you're getting too old to be doing stuff, you should stop exercising. They're absolutely, and then, you meet them 10 or 20, 30 years later and they haven't done anything for all that time period. And they have skipped out on holidays, time with their family, playing with their kids. All this stuff happens just because they're wrong information at the wrong time. So it's so important to remember to move whenever you're in pain, to get things moving best you can. You will get better at doing that. You want to know your core strength better. Your 4 elements of core strength. You have isometric, rotational, anti-rotational, and your reactive core strength. Make sure you're always doing all 4. I know.
Wow.
I'm in the middle of wanting to change the wording of that. So it was like my head was like, and long-term progress. So getting stronger. So when you do feel good, really capitalize on that and really be making yourself as strong as possible so that you hopefully just don't get a flare up, So again, I haven't had a major one for a long, long time. I've had the odd kind of like, that feels like it's getting funny, but nothing's that lasted more than a day, for a long time. So yeah, you can get there. Everybody can.
Yeah.
Cool. Ciao.
Wow, that was incredible. I enjoyed that podcast, and I hope you did too. If you'd like to find out more, head over to tommorrison.uk.